Ones to Watch, powered by Football Index, where you bet on the football stock market by buying shares in the world's top players. I'm joined, as always, by Sir Alan McInally. How are we, Al?
Hi, Emma. How are you?
I'm good. Cheers. All the better for seeing you. How are you?
Thank you. Yeah, all good. Yeah, I'm looking forward to this. I've picked players that are definitely going to be in the limelight, and one that wants to get there, and one that seems to always be in the limelight.
Oh, you tease. Let's get stuck in there. Who's our first one to watch?
Well, he's been injured for a while. He's the England captain. You already know, he's one of my favourites. Harry Kane, one to watch. And people will be thinking, how can he be one to watch? Well, I think his performance with Spurs, albeit they did draw 3-3 with West Ham, and congratulations to them on an incredible fight back. I thought he looked as though he was kind of back to the Harry Kane that we just know every time he puts his football boots on, he's going to score a goal. And I was really impressed with him. And it's only good news for Spurs.
It certainly is. And you look at Harry Kane and Son Heung-min, they've now combined 28 Premier League goals. That's the fourth best duo in history, Al.
The fourth. Right, so duos. I can't think. Henry will be in there somewhere. Tell me who's the top?
Lampard and Drogba with 36. So there's 18.
Yeah, they'll surpass that, you would think. Son's been brilliant as well. And the fact that, when you talk about partnerships, there's always seems to be one. I had one with Gary Thompson. The big man and I were pretty good at one point. And you do just have this special rapport with just someone in the football team that you kind of you're on the same wavelength at times. And certainly Harry Kane and Son have been brilliant. And he'll help Harry Kane, I would imagine, get plenty of goals. But yeah, I think they'll surpass that, which is unfortunate for Drogba and Lampard. But the way they are playing just now, and the way that hopefully he's back to full fitness, Harry Kane, it's like I say, it's good news for Spurs, and I think he's worthy of certainly our one to watch.
Indeed. He's been directly involved in 12 Premier League goals this season, which is the most ever by a player in the opening 5 matches of the campaign. Very impressive. So you've got to look then. You look at Neymar to PSG, £198 million, that world record transfer. Do you know what I'm going to ask you?
No, I wasn't worth 198 million, no.
Would a club have to fork out more than that now for Kane?
Well, you've got to think his contract. There's someone at Spurs when he was signing it, having got a clause in it that he can go for 120 million if they break that clause. You've got to think it'd be at least that. I mean, Neymar is a special individual, always has been, and carries the weight of a footballing country like Brazil. So it's probably unsurprising he costs PSG that kind of money. You've got to think that Kane's got to be the guts of 200 million. I think he's one of the best strikers in the world, never mind Europe. So he's going to be 200 million. Would someone pay 200 million to get Kane? Maybe, just maybe. He always looks quite happy though. Emma, I never hear a lot of dissent from the captain coming out that he's not happy at Spurs and he wants to move on. It may happen eventually. I think you said he's 27 years old, but at the moment in time, if you want Harry Kane, you're going to have to spend at least 200 million.
It's a lot of money. And world-class strikers there. In your opinion then, Al, Kane or Lewandowski?
Oh, Lewandowski. What a player. He's older. He's 32, 33. And what he's done in the last 3 or 4 years at Bayern as well has been extraordinary. Harry, only 27. He's got time to... Well, he's not got time to catch Lewandowski, but who would I have? Who would you have?
Kane, based on age. 5 years. 5 years extra in the tank, can he?
Oh, you don't like the older man, no?
No,
yeah, exactly. Hey, I suppose you're right, of course. But the interesting conversation would have been, had they both been 27 years old, who would you take then? Listen, both are sensational. Lewandowski's proven he can do it. To be fair, Harry Kane has proven as well. And I would imagine will do for the next 4 or 5 years. If Harry Kane stays hopefully fit in terms of his goal-scoring tally, then he'll surpass a lot of people. Because I just thought there was signs of him at the weekend, just looking as though he was back to the Harry Kane that maybe someone wants to spend 200 million on to get him to play in the team.
Yeah, you mentioned him staying fit there. Obviously, he missed 16 games with injury last season. So if he does stay fit, he has to be the Golden Boot winner, surely.
surely you would think. Put it this way, I know that there's a few players in the Spurs team that'll chip in with a few goals, but they rely heavy on Kane. And quite rarely, as do England, to be fair. I mean, his England record is fabulous as well at scoring goals for his country. But I would think there'll be a lot of people might have £2s and £3s and £5 on Harry Kane to be the Golden Boot. Yeah, I mean, I would imagine he's even favoured to be the top goal scorer in the Premier Division. I haven't looked particularly at those prices, but it's a good point you bring up, Emma, because I think if you're Harry Kane and you've managed to do so much so far, there's one thing you really want all the time, and it's to be the top, and that Golden Boot is probably one that Harry Kane thinks at the start of the season. Right, let's see if we can bag that one.
And that is exactly why he's our first one to watch today. Feel free, as always, to have your say in the comments below. Right then, Al, we move on. Who's our second one to watch this week?
Well, this one to watch was one that we haven't managed to watch very often. And he's gone on a free to Brighton, and I just think... that's wrong, not to help Danny Welbeck, but Danny Welbeck is going to be the next one to watch. Back in the day, Emma, you're going to tell me when he was at, where was he? He was at Arsenal and Man United, he was on loan and he was injured and he was here, he was there, he was everywhere. He was the forgotten man. I mean, quite literally a forgotten man. And he came onto the scene with a certain amount of potential, maybe not to be as good as Harry Kane, but certainly good enough to get a football team in the Premiership plenty of goals. And it just hasn't happened for him. You know, poor form. Certainly the injuries blighted his career, and he now has the opportunity to go to Brighton and prove to everybody there's still something in there that we looked back in the day and thought, Danny Welbeck, what a good player he is.
You're right about the injuries, Al. He spent the best part of the last sort of 10, 11 seasons with some sort of injury, hasn't he?
Yeah, I had a little look at some of the stats and I wrote a couple of things down. I think it was last year or the year before. 41 games he missed. 41 games.
Played more than him.
Yeah, well, exactly. I mean, and listen as well, and I can talk from, that particular one when I had an injury and my career finished. That was it. I didn't get the opportunity to really carry on, although I did and I shouldn't have. And it's something that, thankfully, Danny Welbeck has managed to get over: ankle injuries, knee surgery, etc., etc., etc. And now Brighton have given him the opportunity. He's gone in a free, which is good for Brighton and maybe great business by Graham Potter. But it's down to Danny Welbeck now. It's down to Danny Welbeck. And the injuries hopefully are behind him. But there's been a huge part of his life as a football player that he just hasn't managed to get to the position where he wants to be. He's still a Premier Division striker, Emma. But I think this will be the one where he has to prove to everybody he's still worthy of being a Premier Division football player.
Yeah, if he stays fit, he could get plenty of playing time at Brighton. But on that, Al, you look at his career so far, Man United, Preston to Sunderland to Arsenal to Watford, and obviously now Brighton. This is the last crack of the whip, really, for him in the Premier League, isn't it?
Yeah, I think you're spot on, Emma. I think you're absolutely spot on. If it doesn't work this time, there's no other Premier Division club who's going to give him the opportunity. And like I said, it's down to Danny now. The biggest thing, obviously, is staying injury-free. And that's for every football player, my goodness, not just for Danny Welbeck, my God. But psychologically, hopefully he's in a good place because he's come through all these injuries. He's now seen another light at the end of the tunnel that he's had before. And Brighton have given this opportunity for him to try and grab it and get a few goals and prove to everybody there's still something in there that we think of him as a Premier League striker. But you're right, this is it. If it doesn't happen at Brighton, then it will be a football player that a lot of people will say, yeah, do you remember Danny Welbeck? He was a good player, wasn't he? Yeah, he was injured all the time and then gone forever. So I wish him the best of luck. And it's kind of one of the reasons I wanted to put him in one to watch, because he's going to be a Premier Division football player. He's at Brighton, who are a good football team, create lots of chances. Over to you, Danny Welbeck.
Well, just finally on Danny, we've spoken on Ones to Watch a few times, Al, about players not necessarily nailing down their position. He's never scored 10 Premier League goals in a season. Do you think he is guilty of being one of those players? He's
never scored more than 10 goals in a season?
Yeah.
See, I don't like that stat. Not for any striker, to be honest. That's just, well, he now has an opportunity to do exactly that then, is beat that particular stat, because I don't like it. And of course, you could say that he hasn't had the opportunity to get as many goals because of the injuries he's carried through the seasons. He's still one for me that I'm hoping he managed to hit the ground running. He seems a nice lad. Everybody I've spoke to doesn't really get a bad word to say about Danny Welbeck. And like I say, it's now over to him. Brighton have given the opportunity. Can you go hit the ground running and get a few goals and be a Premier Division striker that a lot of people thought he was anyway back in the day when he showed that kind of potential?
Best of luck to him at Brighton. Feel free, as always, to have your say in the comments below. Third and final one to watch this week. Who are you going for, Al?
Well, I said there's ones to watch. There's ones we wanted to watch and didn't get to watch. And now we're going to watch one who's going to be in the limelight. He will be centre circle. Fabinho for Liverpool. Now Mr. Van Dijk is injured. Now Mr. Klopp has a real problem, a genuine problem. Now Fabinho's been a great player for Liverpool. I would think if he's fit, he's pretty almost on Klopp's starting lineup as a defensive midfield player, as a middle of a three or on the right of a three, and he's never let Liverpool down. Maybe now he's going to be thrust into the limelight as a centre-back, and that's going to be a tough ask, because to replace Van Dijk, I don't think you can.
No, and how much, I mean, you say it's a tough ask, but how difficult is that going to be for him, Al?
Well, there are a few players that have done it. I think well, certainly Mascherano did it with Barcelona, didn't he? He went to Barcelona and it didn't look out of place. Having said that, when he played centre-half for Barcelona, Barcelona had the ball for 90 minutes, to be fair. So it was, I'm not saying it was easy, but it was easier.
Yeah.
And then maybe Yaya Toure and a couple of others, defensive midfield players that have managed to get into the back four of a football club. But this is Liverpool Football Club we're talking about. This is, if Van Dijk doesn't come to Liverpool, Liverpool don't win the league. That's how important it was to Liverpool, that puzzle piece that was missing. I mean, so he's now going to go into centre half area, maybe as part of a 3 or a 2. And are Liverpool going to retain the title? Much more difficult.
Well, you look at Liverpool with and without Van Dijk, you can see the stats and they speak for themselves. You know, even sort of the win rate, 70% with him, 46% without him. And that's huge, isn't it?
That's massive. I mean, that is absolutely humongous. And like I said, the reason why Klopp wanted to spend all that money in Virgil van Dijk was because he knew he was the best defender in the world, or hoped he would turn out to be the best defender in the world. And he is. It's as simple as that. If you took Ronaldo out of the team, if you took Messi out of the team, in fact, if you take Harry Kane out of the team, look how weakened the team becomes. And you're talking about a position that is vital to a football team. And you throw in, of course, that Alisson, the goalkeeper's injured, and Adrien hasn't looked absolutely fantastic either, has he? So it's going to be a real tough ask. But then again, Fabinho, international football player, lots of experience. I would think Klopp's going to turn to him, and all of a sudden it looks as though he will definitely be one we'll be watching almost every week. And Liverpool hoping he doesn't make any mistakes and hoping he turns out just as good centre-back, if that's where they're going to play him, as he is as a defensive midfield player.
Yeah, fingers crossed for him. I mean, he's played 87 games for Liverpool, 3 goals and provided 7 assists. The pressure's ramped up now, really, Al.
Yeah, it is. I mean, forget about those assists now, unless he's coming up for a corner, and hopefully, plays a part in that. But I thought it'd be worthy of him putting into one to watch, because I think of all the players that Klopp's looking at his list of players now, and he's thinking, right, centre half, defensive minded. Fabinho. It's got to be Fabinho. The other thing, of course, is his wheels will be working big time, thinking how quickly can we get to January till we think about bringing in a centre half, because there's no question they're going to have to, because they can't just rely on Gomez, Matip, and Fabinho. Listen, don't even be surprised if Jordan Henderson has to fit back in there, maybe, because he relies on Jordan a lot. So it's really going to be a shuffle in the pack for Liverpool. And it's certainly, the bottom line is here, Liverpool are going to be weakened. Simple as that. How they cope with it will be how Fabinho manages to cope with the new position that his manager probably wants him to play. Be an interesting watch in the next couple of months for sure.
Yeah, it is definitely going to be interesting seeing how they adjust and adapt without Van Dijk. Alan McInally, thank you as always for joining us. See you back here next week. And thank you for joining us for Ones to Watch, powered by Football Index, where you bet on the football stock market by buying shares in the world's top players. See you next week.
Thanks, Emma.